what I like about anime. It takes you to another universe. It takes you to another reality almost.
This is one of the things I love about comic books is there's just infinite. There is so many different stories. They're constantly being produced, and you have 70, 80 years worth of content.
For sure, sub is not better than dubbed. Contrary to popular belief, dubbed is the way to go.
Hot take. You're gonna make a lot of enemies with that.
Yo, come to me.
For sure.
There it is.
Okay, there we go. We're recording. All right. So welcome, y'all. I'm Laek from Nightwatch Comics, and I have today with me a good friend, Derrick from Spoiler Alert. So this is take 2 on the intro. So we're getting started. Awesome so far. So it's first episode. I call it episode 0. I know Derrick has some different feelings about what we should be calling it.
Now that we have this mix up in the beginning, we might just call it episode
I think we
0.
call it episode 0. So we have a lot of stuff to cover today. So we're going to go ahead and get started. But Derrick, do you have anything else to say?
Now, just what's up, my spoiler alert friends. Right. We're about to get into this thing, man.
No, I knew you had that intro, man. I didn't want to steal that from you. So we're still working on mine, but I think we covered that we were going to do some back and forth. So brief backstory here. So I have a comics channel. So that is what I love. That's my passion. We have recently started that, but you've been doing this anime thing for quite some time now. Tell us a little bit about that, your little journey, just real brief.
Yeah, so basically, I just love anime. I love anime, God and medicine. That's where the GMA 47 comes from. It's a shout out to those 3 things, and the 47 is family. It's a number that represents my family. So that's where it all started, man. But anime was the motivation.
That's right. That's right. I love it. And how long have you been going?
I guess it's been, almost 10 months now.
Okay.
I'm almost at a year.
You're deep in the grind, man. You're long past when most people quit, for sure.
Yes.
For sure. So we're keeping it rolling.
Same for you, man. So what motivated you? What started this?
So I knew that I wanted to do something that I enjoyed, something that was passionate. And I have a couple different passions that I run through. I'm a big fitness guy. I love the work that I do on a day-to-day basis, but I wanted to be able to set those things aside. Those things are things that are in my life constant, and I work hard at them, but I wanted to come home, and I didn't want this to be a second job. I wanted this to be something that I could just a straight up passion project. I've always loved comic books. I've always loved these characters, superheroes, like whatever it is. I don't know what it says about me, but there's just something about being able to stand up for people, man.
You're just a part of the legendary circle. That's all.
Man, I don't know what it is, but I love it. So I cover mostly Batman type stuff. So of all the characters, Batman is definitely my favorite. He's the one he's just a dude, man. And being just a dude going up against all these crazy aliens and just all this crazy stuff that happens, just being able to be resourceful. So I feel like he's the most relatable. So most of my content revolves around him and his Bat family and characters. I got some other real favorites too that I get into quite some bit. If you look at my channel, you will see that there is one character that stands out clearly. So Red Hood is just legit. I just love everything about him. That's where most of my content comes from. I do some basic other stuff inside, but I try to keep it to those characters. Obviously, those characters interact with a lot of other comic book characters, mostly from DC Comics. So that's really where it is. I've always had a love for DC. I've always been a DC fanboy. Even when Marvel was this huge thing blowing up, it still is. But there's just something gritty, I think. So something gritty about DC Comics that I love. So
it's funny. My wife and I, we went up to Chicago the other day, and there was some lady who worked there at basically it's the pier where they got the big Ferris wheel or whatever. And she was saying that, and I haven't verified this, so don't quote me, but she was saying that one of the scenes in one of the Batman movies came from the Navy Pier area.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when I was going through the tunnels of Chicago, I'm like, this is Gotham City.
It is. So the Dark Knight trilogy was filmed in Chicago. So
oh snap. I did not know that. So she was right.
She's right. She is 100% correct. So that is why. And that's one of the reasons why I love it so much too. I'm like, yo, this is the city. I love it. It's so good. So I'm pretty sure, I don't know the exact history, but I'm pretty sure both Metropolis and Gotham were inspired by New York.
That's the vibe I get from it.
But once they joined, because Batman and Superman they didn't originally exist in the same universe. They were just 2 separate things. But once they combined them, I think a lot of the inspiration from Gotham started to come from Chicago rather than just to differentiate the
Okay,
two. So at least that's what I've seen. So I don't know the exact history as far as that goes, but that's the expectation that I get. But when I found out that they were filming in Chicago, and I was like, yo, I want to go up and see it. Like, it was so sick. But yes, you can see a lot of the Chicago landmarks if you pay close attention to the background when they're filming. Okay. That's pretty sweet.
I'll have to watch it.
You have to watch it. Maybe we'll do a breakdown of it. So
yes, cool. The other day, my son, he was looking at because we were going through HBO or whatever, and he saw the Dark Knight, the Batwings, and they were looking for something spooky to watch, and I was like, I don't know if we're gonna start.
Yeah, that might be a little aggressive at this point.
Might be a little aggressive.
Yeah. So he's gonna see Bane, and Bane is gonna freak him out.
So wait, so speaking of like top favorites, right? You mentioned that Batman is your favorite, or the Red Hood, and I want to go into that Red Hood thing because there's some questions there. But
you've been watching it, yeah, for sure.
Yes,
for sure. Okay.
So you mentioned that he's your favorite. Who are your give me a top three? Who are your top three heroes?
So I would say that the first two are pretty solid. So I love Red Hood, but it's hard to dethrone the Bat. He's just the OG non-super powered guy. It's just it. Like there's such a rich history, and I love the dark and brooding, man. Tailing it to anime, Sasuke was my boy. Like I was team Sasuke from day one to now. It's never changed. He's always been my favorite character. I don't know what it is about the dark and broody guys, but it's just for me, I'm like, yep, I like the stoic. So anyway, so it's really hard to dethrone the Bat. He's just there's some things he does that are a little goofy sometimes, and it's like, come on, but he's got to be number one. It's impossible for me to dethrone it off of that. But in a very close second would be Red Hood, Jason Todd. So he's the second Robin. He is essentially beaten to death and blown up by Joker, and magically.
So wait a minute. You said he's the second Robin.
He is the second Robin.
Wait, what does that mean? Hold on.
So there have been, this is a deep rabbit hole, but so there have been essentially like 5-6 Robins at this point throughout the comic book histories. The first one, and like the one that showed up back in the 40s, essentially way back in the day, right when Batman first started, was Dick Grayson. He is now the current Nightwing. So you'll see him as Nightwing most often. But so he was the first Robin. And then along a series of events, he essentially gets shot by Joker at one point. And it's a flesh wound. He gets shot in the arm. I checked. I looked at the comic. It goes right through his arm. It's a tricep laceration. But essentially, he gets shot and falls off a building. And people think he's dead. Everybody thinks he's dead. They use essentially that opportunity or that situation to Batman says, okay, this is real dangerous. You almost died, or you could have died. I think it's time that we cut this off, essentially. And because Batman's getting a lot of flack for putting Robin out in danger, essentially, because Robin's like a kid. I don't know exactly how old he is, but he's like 12. Young. Like he's a young kid. He may be older. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't read enough of the old school, like original comics to know exactly where he's at that exact point. But he's a young kid, somewhere between 11 and 15.
When I look at Batman Forever, I think it was the old Batman where they show his Robin story and his family falls off the trapeze or whatever. He seemed like he was like a teenager, like Robin. Maybe like 17 or something like that.
That's the thing, man, is it's hard to tie down because there are so many different versions of the origin stories, and every time the story is retold, the artist gets, or the writer gets, essentially free reign to tell it however they want. A lot of them keep close to the original stories just so that it's relatable to people, so people know. But ultimately, that's the thing about comic books, is there's essentially infinite different ways that the story can be told. And every time it's retold, people tell it slightly different. So some situations he's older, some situations he's younger. I just go based on what I look. Like when I look at him in the comics, he's like Naruto's age, essentially.
Okay.
So he's young, and it might just be the way they draw him. I don't know. It's hard to tell. But point being is that Batman's putting this minor in danger, getting shot at by the Joker. Essentially, so he gets shot, and Batman says, "Hey, I think it's time we retire Robin." Essentially, so he tells him that, but then he says, while Dick Grayson's laying in bed there, he basically says, "This is an opportunity for you to become who you need to be, to chase your destiny, to grow, to become something different." Essentially, so he's basically saying, "Hey, you need to stop being Robin, but wink, go be Nightwing, right? So that's what happens essentially is Dick Grayson retires. And then shortly thereafter, Batman finds another kid, Jason Todd, and he does basically just tries to get him to, he does the right thing. He puts him in school. He tries to coach him and mentor him. He actually finds him, no joke, stealing the wheels off the Batmobile. Batman's out on a walk in Crime Alley, chilling, and he comes back and the wheels are gone. He's on bricks. He's on blocks. And he's like, what the heck? And so he's sitting in front of the Batmobile. This kid, again, a young 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid, comes back to finish the job, to get the rest of his tires. And he pulls him up, and Batman's like, so you ganked my tires, essentially. They have a little chat, a firm talking to, and Batman tries to do the right thing and put him in school. But the school that he puts in, he's heard really good things about, is actually like a school teaching people how to be hoodlums. So it's run by this old lady, and she, instead of teaching him, like she's teaching him how to shoot guns and rob people and do all this crazy stuff.
Of course, come on, Bat.
That's right. So Batman tries to do the right thing. He's like, yeah, man, I'm going to get you in school. But it doesn't go well, essentially, and they end up trying to rob a museum. Batman responds, but then Jason actually helps Batman in the process. He essentially turns on them and helps Batman. So Batman's like, all right, man, I tried to do the right thing for you. And they're driving home, and he calls him Robin. So essentially, that's how you know. Okay, so he takes him over. He's like, "You're gonna be my next Robin. I can't leave you on the streets smoking cigs and stealing tires," which is what he's doing when Batman finds him, essentially. So he brings him in as the second Robin, trains him, and then there's a span of time where he's the second Robin.
That is awesome. No, yeah. I'm sure that they intended this, but it's like that play on words kind of thing where it's like, I caught you, Robin.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, that's funny. Cool. Yeah, I don't know if they meant to do that on purpose or not. I just think they went for shock value. Somebody yoinking the tires off the Batmobile. But yeah, so essentially, you've seen the kind of the rest of the story. Like, if you watch my channel, you know the story.
Yeah,
he meets a tragic fate at the hands of Joker, and then it goes on, and he comes magically back to life. You'll have to read further and to figure out exactly how that happens, but he comes back essentially amnesiac, and then Talia al Ghul, who is oftentimes Batman's love interest, in a plea to get his approval and to be able to come back to him, get him to like her essentially again.
Okay.
She tries to rehabilitate Jason, and it doesn't go that well. She actually ends up putting him in the Lazarus pit, which is essentially like a resurrection pit that if a user continues to bathe in it, he can become immortal. That's what happens with Ra's al Ghul, who you'll be familiar with from the story. So he has been continuously year after year using this Lazarus pit. Talia throws Jason in it, and it revives him. It brings back his memories. He remembers who he is, but it also messes with his head a little bit, and
a little warped.
Yeah, he comes back a little warped, and then there's a series of events that go and start off his he decides that he's pissed at Batman for not killing the Joker. Joker killed him, and then Batman lets Joker live. Red Hood is an Avenger. The
Sasuke comes
out. That's right. Rather than his family, his clan getting murdered, essentially, he gets murdered, and then he's out for revenge, and that's his story, and that's where it starts. And you'll have to keep watching the channel to find out how it goes from there. But
beautiful. Okay. Okay.
That is Red Hood in an 8-minute nutshell.
Okay, so we got Batman, we got Red Hood, Nightwing kind of thing. So who's the third? Who's that fluctuating character?
Oh, so the third is actually a tie. So there are two characters that I really love in that third place. And the first one is Nightwing. I just love, he's just a beast. So I love Nightwing just from he was the original Robin. He's about as close as it gets. He's about as OG as it gets from DC Comics. So you got Superman, but then you got Batman and Robin. And him grown up and taking over. There's also a period of time in which Dick Grayson takes over being Batman, which is pretty cool. We lost you, Derek.
Oh, am I back yet?
Nope.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Why is my camera not going? Oh,
yeah.
There it goes. My bad.
You're back.
Episode 0, remember.
Episode 0. So basically, there's a period of time in which he becomes Batman too, which is pretty sweet. But ultimately, what I really like about Nightwing the most is the art style and I don't know if it's the blue and black. I don't know that his outfit is sick, but so he's definitely up there. But I think the true third is probably Deathstroke.
Oh, okay.
Deathstroke is just a beast. So
Yes.
I love just the
Yes.
hardcore, no punches pulled, no wasted movement. Like when it comes to a character with ultimate combat skill, like he doesn't
Yes.
waste a breath, man. He doesn't move, like he doesn't move unless he has to. Deathstroke is just a sick character.
Yes.
So
No, he is. And I was 100% not expecting you to say that.
oh
I was
no, he's
not
one of my
expecting you
favorites,
to say
man.
that. Yes, he is a beast. I
Yeah.
love that character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I love the
Okay.
swords, yo. I love the guns.
The swords are the best part.
Yeah, I
love
know.
Yeah, he's tight when he pulls his guns, yes. But
Yeah.
those swords when they
Yeah.
get going.
Yeah. I am a sucker for swords.
Yes.
I just there is something about a sword that is just it's like primal.
Yes. No,
But
it's there's that ancient, it exudes skill in combat.
that's right.
It
That's
just
right.
does. It's like
Which
and it,
is why I love Deathstroke so much.
yes.
It's complete combat mastery, complete awareness, complete tactical genius. He's essentially like an evil version of Batman. And not
Right.
even evil. That's the thing too. I love me an anti-hero. So there are multiple times in which he makes the right call. Like it does not always just do evil. A lot of
Right.
times it's financially motivated, of course. He's a mercenary. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But just that militant in the swords, man. I'm telling you, it goes back to the swords for sure.
If you look at my avatar for my channel, you'll see the picture with I'm like dressed like Sasuke is with the sword, and it's because the sword game is so sick.
Yeah.
I love it.
I found it very interesting when you started that channel that you chose to dress yourself as Sasuke instead of Naruto.
So look, check me out. The whole reason why that even came about. So it was just random. My wife asked me, she goes, randomly, and I was like, okay, sure. I was just thought she was just trying to entertain my anime love, right?
Yeah.
She goes, what's your favorite costume or like character design? Like who looks the coolest to you? And I was thinking about it, and a few people, I think his name's Archer from Unlimited Blade Works, he came up to my mind. Like, I like the way he looks, I like how he uses his weapons and all that. But the coolest setup was Sasuke when he was training with Orochimaru. I thought his gear was so sick. And so she asked me that, and I told her. And then for Valentine's Day, she made a poster with me dressed up like that. She was dressed up, and our kids were dressed up in that Konoha garb.
Nice.
Yo, this is so tight. My favorite gift from her by far. So I put that as my thing. Yes.
Okay, so that's where it came from.
That's where it came from. 100%. But Sasuke, I love Sasuke because really the Uchiha, I feel like they resonate with me. The whole storyline of how, Itachi was faced with this situation where he's got to decide, do I support my country, essentially, the village, or do I support my people? And he went with his country, and I can't be mad at him for that. Now, I don't know that I would have done that, but
yeah, the methods were a little extreme.
Right. I can relate to it. And just even when you go back to talking about Indra and Ashura and their spirits, I feel like I have that Indra spirit where I can work with people and do things together, but I'm very solo at times. Like I can be that guy who's, instead of us working together, why don't you just do what I tell you to do? And so I can relate to that. And that's the line that the Uchiha come through. It's that Indra spirit. So they resonate with me in like how I think and how I feel. But I also am very much like that goofy Naruto character where I'm like just running around doing stuff.
You're also, man, you're just bright too. That's the thing. That's the hardest part that I have that goes through, or that's difficult for me to process when I think about you as a Sasuke fan. It's just this brightness that you're so animated, you're so excited about everything, and that's like the exact opposite. Exact opposite. I find that very interesting to me.
That's funny.
That's what you resonate internally with. But that's cool. That's how it is too. I like to think that I love Sasuke and I make a lot of the decisions. Hey, I've told you that Sasuke and I share the same birthday, that we have the same birthday.
Wait, oh my gosh, you're right.
I know. It is. It's the same birthday. It was like it's meant to be. I know.
Yes.
And I found that out after he was already my favorite character. But yes, we do actually. First day of the Leo, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
But I find that I don't think that I like act like Sasuke or that I extrude that, but I definitely internally, that's the decisions that he makes, I'm like, yeah, I could see.
I don't know. I feel like that might be why we're friends.
It
It's
could be.
like
It very
it's
well
like
could be.
that Naruto Sasuke kind of they're like best friends. You know
That's
what
right.
I mean? And I think
That's
that's
right.
where it comes from because you have a Shikamaru slash Sasuke vibe.
Okay.
100%. 100%.
Cool.
You're tactical. You can think. You have that. This is a drag kind of moments, but you're also like super skilled. And not saying Shikamaru isn't, but Sasuke
Sure.
is really skilled, and
He
I
does.
think you have that in you, man, for
Well,
sure.
good. I hope so, because that's what I strive for. Efficiency, like execution, and like skill is what I go for.
Yes.
Those are the things that I appreciate. Those are the things I value. Of course, that's what I
It
chose
makes
for.
me think of like when I think it was the movie. I think it was one of the Naruto movies. It could have been the movie, could have been the show, but when he was training with Orochimaru, and there was like a whole sea of bodies just laying there, and Sasuke's just sitting there, and Orochimaru goes, "You didn't kill any of them," and he's like, "I didn't have to." That literally makes me think of you.
Yeah.
I don't have to kill them. I'm not necessarily out here to do these horrible, heinous things, but I'm gonna get the job done the most efficiently as possible.
That's right. That's right. I do remember that's in the show too. So I don't think I ever watched any of the full length movies because they're basically all in the shows anyway. But So I do. Yeah, there are. I know. I'm sorry. I know that might be a touchy subject. So yeah, so I do remember that part. I did think, I'm like, oh, he's such a beast.
Yes,
because it's really that moment. Sasuke had me when he broke a boy's arms. Like that was the moment that it was like confirmed. He was for Sakura that he doesn't even care for. Doesn't even care for. But it was that moment I was like, yo, savage.
Yes.
But you think about that too. You think about that. What is he doing? He's taking that guy out of the fight. You know what I mean? Like, what is when you get? You've been in more fights than I have, I think. But so, like, what is the goal? End the fight. Like, the goal is to disable your opponent as quickly as possible with as little collateral damage. So that's what he does. He's just like, oh, no, these arms are a problem. So
I'm tired of your sound coming out of your head.
Exactly. We're gonna eliminate the problem. So that's what I love about Sasuke. He just shut it down.
The funny part is that Sakura was appalled. She was like, this dude was just pounding your head in. Like, chill, I'm saving you.
Sakura takes a while to warm up. I think since you got me into Naruto, I've gotten probably 5, 6, 7 people into Naruto. I've been like talking with them, playing the seed, doing that. And they finally start watching them. And the thing that I get every time is I can't stand Sakura. I can't stand Sakura. And I'm like, Sakura's my favorite female character in Naruto. Like,
she grows on you for sure.
By a large margin. She gets so much better throughout the show.
Yeah.
And she does some stuff. Ooh, almost let it go. She does some stuff towards the end of the show that I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, let's go. No. She grows a lot. So
she does. She grows a ton. You know what? If I'm thinking about like favorite female characters, Shizune. I think Shizune is my favorite female character.
Yeah.
I don't know why. When you said that, she was the one that came into my mind. It's like she's supporting Lady Hokage. It's like she's this kind of, she's just that constant support that doesn't stop. And she's super skilled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like, I think she's my
interesting that she's the first one that pops to your head. Also, super support character. Like, has two moments in the entirety of Naruto, I think. But interesting that she's the first one that pops up. But
it was so in order of the people that popped into my head, it was her, it was Hinata, and then Sakura.
Okay.
And then Ino was like an honorable mention. It's just
Ino provides comic relief occasionally.
Exactly, right? That's why I'm like,
you can put her in there, it's fine. So I think that's where her character belongs. I think that's what they were wanting from her character.
For sure.
They're like, certain people are gonna vibe. But anyway. So that's Naruto, man. We could literally make an entire podcast just about Naruto.
100%.
Talk about 100%. So what are you watching now?
Okay, so what am I watching now? So I'm actually, funny enough, watching Boruto. I hadn't watched the show. Like I started it and then it didn't grab me. I didn't like how they were, spoiler alert, on their phones and doing random
There's been a lot of spoilers already.
Well, I know. They were on their phones. They had restaurants where they're eating burgers. And
it
was just completely different. And then I also didn't like the lack of respect that Boruto had for Naruto. I'm like, this dude's a legend, and you're treating him like he's nothing. But I guess that's how kids do their parents anyway.
They do.
It's just one of the things that comes with it. But then the mixture of, they're different styles of jutsu and things like that. I was like, I don't know if I actually like this so much because it seemed so in contrast to the original. But I saw a spoiler and I'm like, no, I have to watch this. I have to make it through this bad part to get to the good.
Boruto starts with a spoiler, right? Like the first scene in Boruto was legit.
Yes,
like
it was.
That alone, they knew that. So like I feel like they know us. They know what we want, and they know that we've just had what 10, 15 years of Naruto. And you know, when Naruto started, he couldn't do a push-up. You know what I mean? Like
he was used when you consider how it ended. It was like it had this epic ending.
The scale.
Yes. Yeah. So then you can't start. You had to start like that. You're right. I think they knew. They're like, we have to give them a taste so they know what's coming.
Yeah. Nobody's gonna watch this show of Boruto when he's 10. And fortunately, but that's the thing, is that Boruto starts way stronger than Naruto was when he started, like without question.
So
they all start more skilled, which is again a good thing because we don't want to watch 70, 80 episodes. And in Naruto's case, honestly, 120 or 190 episodes of them getting through the Chunin exams, right? Like we don't want to watch that again. Like we've been through that. It's cool to see the new characters in these stories, but the characters are essentially carbon copies of their parents, essentially. Yeah. It's very interesting to me. So you didn't like the fact that it was modern?
No, I did not.
That's so interesting. Like that was my favorite part. When I started watching Boruto, I was like, yo, this is sick. This is like what it would really be like. If this was happening now, this is what it would be like. I thought that was sweet.
I think that's part of why, because it's like when I go into anime, that's what I like about anime. It takes you to another universe. It takes you to another reality almost. And when I see in the show I'm watching, unless maybe it was just a mindset thing, because coming from Naruto where it didn't have that, and then coming into that, it left a bad taste. But there's modern shows that I'll watch where it's like, oh no, they have their phone, and I expect it because I didn't have an expectation. And so when I was going into this, I had that expectation of it's gonna be a continuation of where Naruto was. And then when it's like, it felt like it jumped millennia into the future with cell phones and trains and all the extra stuff that was going on. They didn't have to run through the trees anymore.
That's right. Which I'm thankful for because it was ridiculous. Right. But like
that's probably the most common
jumping tree branch to tree branch.
Yes, the jumping and the running with the arms.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
Yes,
so that's something that I really liked about it. But I also liked that Boruto had that disrespect for Naruto. Honestly, I like that about his character.
Really,
like I feel like it gave him depth. Like it made it so that he wasn't like just worshiping Naruto, which is how the vast majority of the show goes towards the end. But Naruto is so important that they did two things. One, they set him off aside and they made him this like busy dad, essentially, Hokage, who doesn't really do much, essentially, which is, so exactly. So they shed light on him in this one direction to build up to later in the show. So like how far, before I go any further, I know, how far are you? What have you seen?
Okay, so the last thing I saw is basically it feels like a filler, but I'm sure it'll come back later. They're helping Jugo with these birds, these geese that have the curse mark. Okay. So the last arc that just finished was when, what is it? I think is it the Mizukage stone guy who can do particle style?
Tsuchikage.
Tsuchikage, that's it? Okay.
I think so.
I think you're right. So basically,
Mizukage is water.
100% you're right. Yeah, Tsuchikage. He just died essentially.
Okay, yeah. What was his name? The little flying guy.
Shoot. My goodness. Anyway. I'm pretty sure I literally just did a video on this, maybe. Or I was thinking of doing a video.
I can't remember his Noki.
I can't remember his name, but I know Oniki or Anoki.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, episode 0. Do some research before we talk about these things. This is completely unscripted. So have you gotten to the Chunin exams?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the first.
Okay, so you've seen the attack.
Oh, wait a minute. So this is what I saw. Chunin exams was when Boruto was cheating with that wristwatch.
Correct, and Naruto catches him.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay, and then tell me very briefly what happens seconds after Naruto catches him cheating.
Oh yeah, those white dudes come back and then they're like, I'm gonna
The
steal this.
Sasuke.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yes, they come
Okay,
down.
so you've seen that part. So that's when they attack at the Chunin exams, and
Yes.
Naruto essentially sacrifices himself to save everybody. Okay, cool. So that's, I just want to make sure you had actually seen that part.
Yes. No, I saw
Before.
in that. Okay, I took this hiatus. I started watching it. I left because I wasn't feeling it. But I finished that part, and then it just went into a bunch of filler. The regular Naruto did, and I was like,
a ton of filler.
I'm like, I just don't have time for this right now. There's so much better stuff. I was watching My Hero, Attack on Titan, a lot of really good shows that I'm like, I don't have time for Boruto. I just don't.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No. I would just say it's a time sink.
Yeah, no. And
for sure.
So I'm like, okay, I don't have time for that. And then when I saw the spoiler, I went back to watch that again to reinvigorate me to watch the show because it was tight. It was definitely tight. Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you this much. If there was ever plot armor, that was it. Boruto should never have been in that fight. Like,
that's right.
How are you just standing on a ledge? No, definitely not. You got Kage over here fighting a Kage level battle, and you got Boruto with his wind style. Sure, no, I'm like, get out of here. Plot armor.
Yeah, the ending of that whole situation was a little ridiculous, but again, I feel like they tossed us that. I feel like the entire setup before that was all leading up to that moment, right? That was like that was your plot. That was the point in which you peaked at that point, but that was a gift to us.
Oh,
like
yeah.
That fight was like, yo, we gotta keep these guys interested. Exactly. We gotta keep these guys interested because let's show them what Naruto and Sasuke can do now.
Yes, and they were so epic, bro.
Which is legit, yeah.
They were epic.
The
combos. If you've been watching my channel, my son has been watching anime with me, and particularly Naruto, and he's been sneaking into Boruto. It doesn't grab him either, and I'm like, interesting. But he watches the Naruto, so when he sees Naruto and Sasuke inside of Boruto, he loves it.
Yeah.
And we watched that fight together, and it was so tight. And he was like entranced. I'm
sure,
like, yes, this is perfect. But
the hooks are in.
I'm like talking to him, like, isn't this great? Look at their unity, how they're working together.
I like it.
Yes, when they're doing the combos and oh my gosh.
Yeah, no. And they're just in one. Just as they're working as one.
Yeah,
they know each other so well at this point. Like,
it was beautiful. It was a work of art, and and just because there was no way this dude should have even lasted that long.
No.
In reality, no. If you're getting knocked out by a Boruto's,
the ending, everything was cool about that except for the very end. And I'm like, really? I remember, I think I even turned my head to the side. I was like, really? That's how they're gonna end this? But I know that you got to give Boruto his moment. His show. Yeah. And I love what they do with this character.
I will say this too. The whole time I'm watching, so I guess I'm watching and I'm like, okay, this is where they are. And then after they transition and Sasuke and Naruto started really going in, I was like, why were they entertaining these other Kage? They were just like, we'll give you a chance. They went on to a whole different tier of ability in a snap. And so they could have started there. They just let the other guys have a chance.
They didn't have to.
Right? No, they didn't. They were like, all right, we'll sit back, let it watch. You got the beginning of that. Naruto's tied up. At any moment, he could have broken out of that and been like, all right, let's do this for real. Yeah.
That's right. Gathering information, man. Gathering information. So that's the thing is I just love them, especially. What do you think of the fight, the initial little fight scene with Sasuke and Kenshiki in the beginning? Yo, that part when he switches places with the statue.
Oh my God. He's a beast.
So sick. I love one thing I didn't really notice until I started editing some of this footage is the sound. I think that's one of the things I love about Sasuke so much is the sounds, like the sound effects that he makes. For some reason, I love the sounds. I noticed this too with Pain as well. The sounds that his jutsu make were just something about him. I really liked it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like that character so much.
Interesting.
It's
have to
actually
check it out.
funny. I say that all that I say that, and then I will say that Chidori, the sound that the original Chidori makes, reminded me a lot of my toilet at my last apartment. Like
Oh,
when I flushed the toilet, the sound the toilet made sounded just like Chidori. It was so
that
sick.
I
Every
would
time.
have wasted a lot of water.
I know. And I couldn't stop thinking about it every time it happened. So very interesting.
Nice.
But
Okay.
anyway.
Okay. So I'm watching Boruto.
Okay.
I guess what I just finished, I just got done watching Demon Slayer, which is phenomenal.
The complete story.
Yeah, so I finished where all the way up through the subbed and dubbed, right? So it's
Okay. So is Demon Slayer still being released?
no, season 3 is done being
So
released.
it's done. Is there more?
Yeah, there will be more to come. Oh my
Okay.
gosh, will
Okay.
there be more?
Okay.
Ooh.
So how is the main so talk to me real quick. Just pretend I know nothing because I essentially know nothing. Like how does manga versus anime, like how does that work? How does it translate? How long does it take? That kind of thing. Briefly.
So from what I've noticed is so manga comes out significantly before the series does. So
Okay.
they have, and I imagine it's because of the voice actors and trying to get people to come around. There was even a time where voice actors were like they were on strike. So then that's one of the shows I was watching, Mob 100. The main character's voice actor basically they replaced him because he wanted more money and they didn't want to pay him.
Sure.
So they ruined the show for me at least. But so there's the manga, and then you have like years of production to take that manga and put it into like an anime reel, and then you get the characters. Then you have the sub people come out, and then shortly after that, the dub gets recorded and released. Okay. And I think like when I look at the manga for Naruto, that came out in like 1999.
Finished in 99 or started in 99?
It started in that at that time, but the anime didn't come out until like 2006, 2005, 2006.
Okay.
So that's about the time frame it takes to start from when you have the manga to starting the anime. Now, as far as Demon Slayer goes, I don't know how much. I haven't read the manga with Demon Slayer at all, so I don't know how far that show goes. But I've seen some people have commented in my videos, just wait, something's coming. So they have to read the manga to know that.
That's right.
Because I'm right there with the sub. So that's how it typically works.
So you say that. So now I know for a long time you were a dubbed guy. So you said subbed a couple times. Tell me what happened.
No, so I'm 100% dub. I have a very hard time watching sub. I will say this though, Hunter. So if you look at my channel, I put out a couple Hunter videos.
Sure.
I was watching it in subbed when I was making the videos, and I was like, I'm actually liking these voices right now. But I've been having such a hard time. I try over and over, and I think the problem is when I try it with shows that it doesn't work.
Because you're already attached to the characters?
Because I'm already attached to the character. I'm already attached to the voices. And it can't be a show that I know nothing about, because then I feel like I know there's more that I could be experiencing. Yeah. So it has to be that mid show. And for me, I know a lot of people won't like this, but it was a mid show. Like up until the Chimera arc, it was a mid show. It was like, all right, it's cool. And so while watching it in those voices, it's, oh no, I actually could get down with this. Okay. I might try it out and see how I feel about it. But yeah, for sure, subbed is not better than dubbed. Contrary to popular belief, dubbed is the way to go.
Hot take. You're gonna make a lot of enemies with that.
Come to me.
For sure. So for sure. You and I had this conversation a lot back when I was watching Naruto. Yeah. And I couldn't wait for the discs, man. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. That was such a miserable process to be able to go through that. And I started, you had the first 400 episodes or something on disc that you gave to me in this big binder, that I went through, that I burned through. But like at a certain point, I couldn't wait on the disc anymore. I got to that point and I was like, yo, the sub is already essentially done. All I need to do is start watching it in sub, and then I can finish the story. I don't have to wait 2 more years to finish the story. So I started watching sub.
The biggest reason, I'll give you my reason why I like dub better. Okay. right? So when at least it's a personal thing. It's when I'm reading while also listening, it takes from my complete immersion into the thing. And
Okay.
that's part of the
Interesting.
thing I like about anime is I can detach and completely immerse myself in this new world,
Yeah.
right? It's the closest I can get to Sword Art Online, whereas I am in the world of this anime and
Yeah.
I am there. And so when I'm hearing it in English, I don't have to translate. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
The
Yeah.
language, like even if I
That's
were to
right.
go and learn Japanese, like it would still be a second language for me. So there's that processing that happens that
Yeah.
delays the reaction.
So you find it less immersive. You find
Yes.
watching it
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I I think you're probably right. I think I would prefer it to be, but I do think that there's definitely a quality difference a lot of times. So I think a lot of times I watch here's the negative about sub though. I do think that generally the voice actors are better, but the negative with the sub is that when it's not a pivotal plot point. So when we're watching a 20-minute episode about Sakura and something that she did, watching subbed is terribly annoying because I can't do other things while I'm doing it.
Yeah,
I have to
fillers, they
actually
get you.
watch it. The fillers subbed are miserable because you can't I can't have it up on a different screen listening, slightly absorbing the filler that I don't actually need to
Right.
see anyway. Especially with Naruto, because Naruto repeats everything like 20 times over and over again. Huh?
40%. Just a quick fact out there. Naruto has 40% filler. It is it's the anime with the most filler of all time.
Yeah,
Just
I don't doubt
just
that at all.
out there.
There's a lot of filler, but there's also a lot of characters too.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of that is fleshing out character backstory. But even in the actual story content, they repeat themselves over and over again.
Right.
So there's a lot of repetition there. I like to be able to tone some of that out, but you can't do that with sub because then you just miss
No.
everything. So
Yeah,
you
you
got to be
will.
actively engaged. So I think it just depends. So, but
Yes.
very
You know what?
interesting hot take there.
Yes, 100%.
So
But yes, and speaking of reading, because I know you like to read, so what things are you reading with like comics right now? What are the hot
yeah.
things coming
Oh
out?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So this is one of the things I love about comic books is there's just infinite. There is so many different stories. They're constantly being produced, and you have 70, 80 years worth of content. So comic books started back in probably even before that, but DC started in like 1937.
oh
Yeah,
snap.
like 37, 39. I think it's 37, but I think that
That's
like
like
actually
that's almost we're almost at 100 years, bro.
almost 100 years. They just celebrated their 80th anniversary, 80th year anniversary. So that's when Batman started, like 80 years ago, essentially. So I'm bad at math. Fix the numbers for me. But I think
Insane.
it's ridiculous amount of content. And they think about that. The way comic books are produced is it's usually like monthly episodes. So you have one new episode a month. But so DC started, Batman started as DC Comics essentially. So there were, it was essentially just detective based comics. And then on their, I think 27th issue, they introduced this fictional character, the Batman, and people loved it. People went crazy about it. From that episode, again, I think it was episode 27. That was kind of Batman's initiation, his first story. It was like a little 7-pager, 6-pager, something like that.
Okay.
People loved it, so they made him a regular character, and they just episode after issue, they added him in. People loved it so much they essentially added a second comic. So they had Batman in as the main character of Detective Comics, and he was the main character essentially all the way through up until present day. But people loved it so much they wanted to be able to give you a double dose essentially. So they started Batman his own comic. So that started a little bit later. But essentially, from 1940 on, there has been 2 episodes of Batman, or 2 issues of Batman every month. So that's a lot of months. So DC Comics itself, DC is named after Detective Comics, but Detective Comics is the actual comic book name. They're in like the thousands. Their episode or their issue numbers are in the thousands now. There's just so many of them. But that's just 2 comics. That's just 2. That doesn't count all of the other extra editions of Batman that other creators have made throughout the years.
Right.
There are thousands and thousands of stories. And each of these stories, even the initial issues were like four stories per. They were monthly, so you essentially had one story to read each week. But after a while, they transitioned out of that once they had the two, both Batman and Detective Comics going. But ultimately, there are thousands and thousands of stories. I actually did the math the other day. You and I were talking about this on the phone.
Yeah.
I actually did the math the other day, and if I were to start reading, I set a goal in my head to read one Batman comic every day. It would take me almost 6 years. 6 years.
That's a lot.
I read them all. One a day, 24 pages a day. One comic a day. It would take me almost 6 years to get all the way through all of Detective Comics plus Batman. It's an insane amount of content. So that's what I love so much about it. But the thing is, it's not stopping, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not stopping. It's not slowing down. This week, there are 7 to 8 different issues of different characters. I think 3 of them were Batman this week. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is there's multiple different Batman stories. One of them is the new Batman War, so it's essentially Batman versus Catwoman. That's one of them. There's a Batman Incorporated that I think was released this week, which is another story of, it's like a more industrial Batman where he has a team that they're working out, fighting crime essentially. And then they are also getting ready to release the new Batman Gargoyle, which is just another form of Batman. So this is just Batman, but there's Nightwing. So all of these characters have their own runs essentially.
Right.
So of the new comic, like each week a new comic book. So I ask you, like, how do you go through? But essentially each week a new comic book comes, or a new set of comic books come out, and they go to your local store.
Okay.
Which I always recommend going to the comic book store. There's nothing quite like picking it up off the shelf. That's the fastest way to get something.
I think that's actually a really cool way of doing it. It makes you a part of the process.
That's right.
Apps, I'm sure, that have it. There are for manga. I know that there's Shonen Jump, but for a comic, I think it would be cool to go to a place where you're like, here it is, like a comic shop, like old school.
Hold it in your hand, pull it off the shelf. You get a chance to support those guys too, because that's always good. I love supporting the local guys. So we've got a couple comic shops here in Nashville that I'm a big fan of. But ultimately, that's the fastest way to get it. And they do that on purpose. They also want to support these guys. So DC has an online service. So you're familiar with Crunchyroll, obviously, right? You have a couple different anime ways you get anime. But from comic standpoint, they have what's called DC Infinite. And that is essentially an online subscription service that they have scanned in all of these comics over the years, right? And they're not all there. Like I said, there are thousands of them, hundreds of thousands of different stories, if you're not just talking about Batman and his stories. If you start pulling in Superman, who has an essentially equal run. So Superman has his comics, and then just like Batman has Detective Comics in addition to Batman, like there are 2 Batmans, there are 2 Supermans too. Right, Superman has his own comic that's been going since the 40s, and then he has Action Comics. So you have Detective Comics with Batman. Superman's version of that is Action Comics, and that's essentially, so the differentiation now. Initially, it was the same thing; those were both the same thing, but now both Batman and Superman have their own runs. Hey, they have Superman, and then they have Batman, respectively, and then they also have Batman has Detective Comics, which is essentially Batman and Friends, is the way to look at it. It's Batman plus Nightwing plus Robin plus Batgirl plus Batwoman, like all of these, plus Huntress, who's another character that shows up pretty regularly. All of these other characters, the Bat family essentially, are more featured in that one, versus Batman is more focused on Batman's story, and those characters are absolutely present. They're there, he's interacting with them, but the story is more focused on Batman, whereas with Detective Comics, it's more focused on the whole team. Essentially, Superman has the same thing with Action Comics. They have some other characters in there like Supergirl, Power Girl, and a lot of the other, like Superman's son, those kind of things. Has a lot of those other characters. And then you've got just the plethora. You got Titans, and you've got Teen Titans, and you've got Young Justice, you got Justice League, you got all these different runs that are going concurrently. So like right now, one of the ones I'm reading right now is World's Finest. One of the videos I posted the other day was from World's Finest. But that's essentially Batman and Superman working together, tag team, essentially. And that's a run that's going now. They're still releasing.
Was that the start of Justice League? No. Okay.
So these all exist in different time frames and different stories, right? Every time a comic book is made, the writers of that particular comic book basically get free reign with the story, and they can tell whatever story they want with the characters. Essentially, there are guidelines, they have versions, but so this is just Batman and Superman working together. That's the premise. And then they have an enemy, they have a fight. Like in the first episode, Superman gets stabbed with a red kryptonite. That's the thing. It's like Supes is kind of a problem. That's why I don't really like Superman. That's the issue with Superman, is that he's essentially freaking immortal. He's essentially has no weakness. So he's unfair. Like, it's a cheat code. They have to always weaken him some way. Or, in a lot of times, they make him the problem. This situation, he gets stabbed with his kryptonite. That's right. He gets stabbed with his kryptonite, and then he starts freaking out, hallucinating, and destroying the city. Batman has to be the hero and figure out what's actually happened. Because if Batman starts freaking out and having a hallucination, like, honestly, Superman just restrains him. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta be careful because he's a beast. But with no prep time, you might have heard this. So they've already heard that Batman is unbeatable with prep time. Like, that's like a meme status right now. It's like, with prep time, Batman can take down anybody.
Yeah.
But with no prep time, man's gonna probably overpower him pretty quickly, which is what happens actually in the story. So, but that's the thing, is that so all these different stories have different points, and they grow differently depending on the writer who's writing them at the moment. There are a ton of them. There's a run that's going right now that's called the Lazarus Planet. It's basically Batman versus Robin. And that's the thing, is there's so many events, right? So it starts off as Batman and Robin, Batman versus Robin. Batman has a son, Damian Wayne, by Talia al Ghul, who is twisted. He's conflicted because his dad is Batman and a notorious crime fighter, and his mom is Talia al Ghul, essentially leader of a crime syndicate and one of the most powerful assassin corporations that there is, the League of Shadows. He's split between the middle of his two parents, so he has some struggles with that. Some things happen, he gets corrupted, and he essentially starts a vendetta against Batman, trying to kill Batman. That is a run. So the way it works is that's a run. You have Batman versus Robin, and that runs for 17, 18 episodes that this one particularly ran for. But that's a run, and you have 17 different issues, which takes place over a period of time, 17 months, essentially. It doesn't actually quite always, sometimes they do it sooner than that, sometimes they do it faster than that, but that's essentially the idea. So that runs for a year and a half, and then it concludes with a big event. And that big event in this situation is Lazarus Planet. So Lazarus Planet was like a 6 episodes, or essentially a 6-month process of walking through what happens when this planet, essentially, I mentioned the Lazarus pit earlier, what that Jason Todd gets revived from. Essentially, a giant Lazarus pit gets created, essentially, and then turns into a volcano and explodes. So when it spews a bunch of stuff in the atmosphere and starts freaking out and screwing with everybody's powers. So some people become way stronger. Some people their powers change and adjust. So it's a way to add in some variability. So Superman's not always shooting lasers out of his eyes and being super strong. Batman gets powers, like those kind of things. So they have this long run of Batman versus Robin, which is Batman's struggle with Damian, his son, essentially trying to kill him, and Batman trying to save Damian. And then it goes into this big plan, and that other event brings in all the characters. Green Lanterns are there, Cyborg's there, everybody's there, essentially. So it brings in all these Justice League characters that you know and love from Justice League. Sometimes it's the Justice League. Sometimes the Justice League has already been created. Sometimes it's just people responding to this incident. So it's completely up in the air as far as what the current status of those allies. And
I think it's a really cool thing that they allow different creators, like you said, they have their little guidelines, but they can create these different universes within that universe. I think that's really creative in a way. I don't know. First of all, it creates a monster of content that you can digest. If you're into this kind of thing, you can go down this way or whatever. I just think that's super cool. It makes me want to read.
I'm telling you, once you actually start to open up to it, and one of the reasons I like comic books is I can just chill. I can do it chilling. Like, I can open up, I can pick it up and put it down. I don't have to start the TV. I don't have to do any of that. I don't have to disrupt everybody else when I'm listening to stuff. Like, I can just open it. I can do it in bed.
I can't stunt here. So talking to you about reading comics, I'm like, because I used to watch manga, read all the time, but I'm wanting to get back into that because I think it's decreased screen time. For your health overall.
You're going to read them mostly on your phone. So unless you're buying everything, so it doesn't actually help that much. But I do buy a lot of comics too, but the vast majority of them I read on my phone. But go ahead. Sorry.
But no, I do think you're right because I downloaded the apps to be able to read it on my phone because of just the convenience of it. But I just think there's something about like how in depth they go. Watching your videos, I've learned so much more about that universe than literally any time I've ever watched the shows or the show or the movies. It doesn't.
The movies are just it's just dust in the surface, man.
Yes, 100%. And so I'm like, and I remember that partially, not exactly, but partially with manga, where it was like reading through Naruto, it was like different things were said. And I was like, oh, that
Yeah.
was in the show. That's cool. But
Right.
no, I think it's worth it to go into that world. I think that's cool. You've inspired me.
Great. So that's what we're trying to do here, right? We're trying
Yeah,
to spread the news. We're trying to
yeah.
get people into it. There's just, I love it. It's something that I'm super passionate about. I think it's fantastic. So the more people, the merrier. Bring it on. So I love making these videos. Like making these videos are something that I'm super passionate about. I have a blast doing it. Hopefully there's a lot more coming.
Oh
A
yeah,
lot more coming.
for sure, for sure.
So, all right, man. I know we're running short on time.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to cover real quick?
No, man, this was fun. This was
All right.
good. We can do this more often, man. I enjoyed having the conversation, talking about the things. I'll definitely, hopefully, by the time we talk next, I'll have read some of these comics so I can talk about them.
Oh, we're gonna start doing it. All
For
right.
sure, for sure.
Well, that's the good thing. That Infinite app has just a basic program that allows you to be able to get onto it, but don't hesitate. I'm sure in your hometown, I'm sure they got a comic book store somewhere out there.
Actually, I think there is one in the downtown square area where there's a shop. It has like old records, like where you can buy music,
Yeah.
but also has comics, I believe. So I think I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I think my
Just,
kids would like it too. Let's go on, maybe get some ice cream, eat, check out the comic shop. That might be
I think that would be great, man. Just pick something out. Pick what looks cool.
yeah.
Right? Pick a character that you think interested, something that looks cool on the shelf. Pick it up and give it a read. You know,
Sure.
Remember that there are so many different. The art styles are all different. There's just so much different that one comic is not going to look like the next one. You know what I mean? Like when you pick something up off the shelf, you just never know what you're going to get, and that's the greatest things. I've been blown away by some of the. I picked up a cover and I was like, this looks okay, and then I opened it up and this is sick. So you just gotta give it some time, and it gets to be an adjustment.
Okay.
All right, boss. It's been a blast. We'll do this again here, sir. Or here soon.
Yes.
So, Bat fam, Night Watch fam, thanks for watching.
My spoiler alert family. We got it. We got the time with Laek the Legend. That's what we're calling.
Oh, Laek the Legend. I like that. That's got a good ring to it. Laek Uchiha, the Legend. I think it's the way it should go. All right, boss. You take care.
Yeah, you too, man.